Hello, lovelies. Welcome to Horror 421, the podcast, with your host, your friendly small-town horror author, Charles Campbell. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the frights in this week's episode.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Horror 421, the podcast. I'm your host, small-town horror author Charles Campbell, and today we have a very special guest, a guy that he's a friend of the show. He's a contributor to Weekly Spooky, and he's a historian as well. So welcome back to the show, Bruce Haney. I'm so looking forward to talking to you today.
Thank you. Glad to be back.
I'm glad you're back. Now, the last time you were on the podcast, we talked a lot about the historian side, you know, what you've done in that realm as far as, you know, boring Oregon and some Oregon history around moonshine, bootleggers, busts, and brawls. So I do have this book. This is one Bruce sent me, I don't know, probably a couple years ago. It's a very interesting read. So go pick up a copy of this. It's got some pretty cool insight into the bootlegging history in Oregon. So check it out. But we're not here to talk about this book in particular today. My buddy Bruce has kind of dove in head first into the horror realm. He's been a consistent contributor on Weekly Spooky with the Weekly Spooky stories, short stories, and he just recently released a cool little book that I read last weekend. And you can read it in one sitting if you want, but it's a great little Halloween read. I know it's not Halloween, but you can read it any time of the year. It's called Dirt Babies, and it's a very interesting story. We're going to talk about this in depth today. So, Bruce, tell us what's been going on since you were last on the show. Just give my audience a little update on you and give us a little bit of your background for people who didn't watch the episode a couple seasons ago. And I'm going to be quiet and let you speak.
All right. Yeah, so local historian is my kind of main deal, but I like to write a lot of horror stories for the Weekly Spooky. And I've been doing presentations lately. That's kind of the new thing in my life. I've been doing history presentations in front of large groups. That's been really cool. And now I'm trying to get into the actually, publishing books that are horror, not just local history.
Well, I'm
Dirt
glad
Babies
to
is my first one like that.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to see that you're jumping in head first. I mean, I've listened to, I think, all of your stories on Weekly Spooky. Maybe one or two have escaped me, but you've been a consistent contributor, more so than myself as of late, because I've been working on a novel. But I got a couple stories on the back burner that I'm going to send Enrique very soon. I guess when I'm looking at your Weekly Spooky stuff, I love the way Enrique narrates those. I'm so used to calling him Henrik. And the tales that you've put out there have been great. But one of my favorites is Terror on Your Radio Dial. That one kind of stuck out to me a little bit. I love that story. Before we get into Dirt Babies, let's let our listening audience know, and I'm sure Enrique will get a big kick out of this, how you came to become a Weekly Spooky contributor and author, because I'd like to hear the story behind that, and you're doing some great work there.
Thank you. So, yeah, I've been writing books before I found Weekly Spooky, and the way I found it was Popcorn Fodder, his thing where he's a horror host on Tubi. And then I started watching his movies, then I found out about the podcast, and I listened to it for a while, and then finally went, I could probably, I've written horror shorts my whole life, I could probably get one on here. So I submitted one, and now I've submitted probably like 13.
Yeah.
Quite a few.
Yeah. You're a consistent contributor. You've submitted more than I have, that's for sure. I don't know what number I'm up to, probably 7 or 8, but 13's a good number, and I really like the way Enrique narrates those for all the authors. He does such a great job. So I'm gonna switch gears, and I'm gonna start talking to you about why you're here today. Dirt Babies. You guys go to Amazon and pick it up. It's a great little read. Tell me where this idea came up from. It was super unique. And guys, you see these characters on the cover of this crazy looking book? They're actual representations of what you're going to read in the book. These aren't exaggerations. These are the things that are making people's lives miserable. So if you want to talk about this a little bit and how you came up with this idea and concept.
Yeah, I was looking for something that would be a novella length for Weekly Spooky. for Halloween. It's a big deal to me last year because I know Halloween is when he gets the most views.
Oh yeah.
So I wanted to be something really cool, and I wanted to be like as Halloween-y as I could make it. So you have trick-or-treaters, you have the home haunt, you have yeah, all the little things from like my childhood, like even little things like she runs into a kid and almost runs him over because the mask is too big, and that's
right.
because I remember having the mask that was too big.
That's right.
Yeah. And I also went, what haven't I done yet? I haven't done my killer little creature story.
Well, the killer little creature story is really cool, and without spoiling it too much, it centers around a young lady named Kristen, and she's she's taking a good little chunk of money for her to babysit on Halloween, so it kind of ruins her Halloween plans, but she's looking at the cold hard cash, and the moral of this story, without giving the story away, is be careful of who you hire as your babysitter, and don't go casting spells in a graveyard. Especially on top of on the grounds where a killer may have been buried. Just don't do that. It's not a good idea because all kinds of crazy shit can happen. What gave you the idea for this story? I know you talked about it a little bit, but specifically dirt babies. Is that something that's really out there?
Yeah.
Okay, I've never heard of those before. I heard your story.
They're common around. I don't know if it's an Oregon thing, but it's something we made in school when I was a kid. And they're just, you take like a woman's nylon, fill it with dirt, grass seed. And it was like a homemade chia pet. Put googly eyes on them.
Oh, wow, I'm gonna have to try that out. I'm gonna have to do this Halloween. Actually, make some dirt babies. But I'm gonna buy the dirt from a store. That's another thing, guys. When you read the story. Buy your dirt from a store. Just don't get any willy-nilly dirt. Oh, man. So, I really want people to go read this. It's a very short read. It's a great book. Dirt Babies. Go pick it up at Amazon. So so far in the world,
as well.
Oh yeah. So far in the world of horror, what have you're kind of all over the place in the genres and subgenres of the stuff you've written. You've written a Bigfoot story with some West Coast kids coming to the Pacific Northwest, if I remember right, and you get a lot of dudes, and it's just some crazy dialogue in that particular story. That one kind of stuck out. But in the crazy world of horror, what have been some of the things that have influenced you into coming up with these awesome weekly spooky stories? I know you probably grew up a horror kid, but tell me some of the things where you're getting your ideas from.
Yeah. Horror is almost what movies are to me.
Yeah.
Because like from 7 years old, my sister was a big horror fan, so I watched horror almost exclusively as a kid. So it's the genre I love. I think Are You Afraid of the Dark had a big influence on me. Terror on the Radio Dial is there's one that they have about a kid who accidentally gets on a radio station that's you're only supposed to hear if you're dead. And so he ends up going into the morgue, and he's, like, no, I'm not really dead. And I love that stuff. And I was a kid that, like, I got on my radio and put aluminum foil and was trying to tune in and find secret stations. So I love old technology and looking for something that's not supposed to be there.
Yeah, well, there was a movie like that a few years ago where she wasn't dead. She was laying on the table. Was it? Oh, I can't remember. I think Christina Ricci was in it.
Oh, yeah.
What was the name of that film? Yeah, she was dead, but she wasn't.
Yeah, I can't remember the title either.
Yeah, that was some crazy stuff. The
I
other
Christina
one.
Ricci.
Oh yeah, I do too. The other one, the Autopsy of Jane Doe. Did you ever see that?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty good. She's basically a witch, I think, that was burned back during the Salem witch hunts and that kind of stuff. But that was a cool flick. So, some other interesting things have happened to you over the last couple of years since we last spoken. You're a married man now, right?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
How's married life treating you?
Good. I like it. Yeah, she's a good woman.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you've got a good woman and that you're happy. Is she into horror at all?
Oh yeah, yeah. She doesn't like. I think I go a little trashier than she does. You know, like I think she really didn't like blood-sucking freaks when Joe Bob showed that.
Well, she probably liked.
But she'll do
Nosferatu.
Friday.
Huh?
Yeah. And she likes Friday the 13th and stuff like that, but she doesn't go low budget like I do.
I got a shit ton of super low budget stuff I'm staring at right now. I love indie horror.
Me too.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think I like mainstream horror. Don't get me wrong. I got plenty of that shit too. But indie horror, those guys have to really be creative in their process because they don't have millions of dollars to put into a film, so they have to do some some crazy things. So I have a lot of respect for the guys and gals and people that put those films together. So as far as indie horror goes, and I know we talked about this probably on the first podcast, but I found Enrique's work for the first time at the Dollar Tree. So I picked up what was the name of that first film? Had Erin Ryan in it. She was the star. The girl of something, I forget.
Oh, was it Ouija Room?
No, that was that wasn't Erin.
Oh, that's Joni Durian.
Yeah, Joni Durian. Yeah, I had her on the podcast a couple years ago. But
which one stars?
The girl.
The girl in the crawl space.
Girl in the crawl space. That was it.
Yeah.
Picked that up at the Dollar Tree, came home, didn't expect anything out of it, popped it in, watched it. I was like, wow, this is really good. So then I went and looked up everyone in the film, and then I started connecting with them. Tell me your experience. How did you discover Enrique and the Kuto clique, as I like to call it, which you're part of now? You're part of the clique.
Right. Yeah, Popcorn Fodder on Tubi, and then I think I maybe went to Awkward Thanksgiving next.
Yeah.
Which is a really fun one. And then I just ran through all his movies.
Yeah, he's such a good guy, man, and he does so much to help authors and creative folks. So out of your weekly spooky stories, and I want to keep plugging Dirt Babies, but I don't want to give away too much, so people will buy it and actually read it. But out of your weekly spooky, yeah,
I'm
out
deep
of your
into writing the sequel.
Oh, let's talk about that. Yeah, let's talk about that. I'm jumping around a little bit because there's a couple things I want to get to, but let's talk about the sequel. Are we going to have any of the surviving returning characters, or is it a completely fresh take, a new story? Where are we going with it?
Everyone who's not dead is coming back.
Ah, nice.
Kristen's coming back. Bram's coming back. The big thing before the horror starts again is Bram made a friend with a punk kid, so now he's a punk, and instead of a goth kid, so she's like, oh, what happened to my cute goth boyfriend? Now he's a punk.
Nice.
It's fun because I like writing about teenagers, especially in the 90s. And so it's giving me an opportunity to write about things that I wouldn't be able to write in any of my other stories.
Yeah.
Because I like talking about like kids and their depression and the different things that kids go through and music, and I'm having a blast writing these.
Yeah, well, I could tell it comes through in the writing, and I had a blast reading it. I mean, it like you said, it's a novella length. It wasn't super long, and it kind of flew by. And when I got to the end, I'm like, I want some more of this. So I'm glad you're writing a sequel. And that's the thing. I'll listen to stories on Weekly Spooky, and I'll even read books. And hell, a year later, even 6 months later, I could read it again. And it's like I've never heard of anything in it. That's what comes with age.
I turned 40 this year.
I'm 56, so I got you by a little bit. I wish I was 40. I'd remember more. But I know the stories that you put out on Weekly Spooky, they're probably your babies, but is there one in particular that stands out in your brain above the rest? Is there one that you're like, man, I really knocked that one out of the park?
The one I really love that I don't think anyone really mentions, because some might get a lot of comments on, some nothing, is Fool's Hill. And it's a story about a guy who's a writer, a local history writer, but he writes about like ghosts and things, and he starts following this thing he found in the newspaper about
I remember that one. Yeah.
maybe witches being in the woods. And I love stories where the person has so many opportunities to turn back around if they just didn't need the answer to their question. And eventually, you know, the more they go, and then eventually they're dead. That's my favorite. And like I researched different articles in Oregon and tried to write, like, gave me opportunities to write like a newspaper person from the 20s. I love it. I love that kind of thing. It's a little bit found document.
Yeah.
It's told like it's a journal.
Yeah, that was a great story. You're right. It didn't get mentioned a lot, and I actually haven't thought about it until you just spoke about it again. That was a really good. I'm gonna have to go back and re-listen to it. That was a great story. You've done so many already, man. The thrifting fail. That's another one that stood out. I like that one a lot too. Where'd you come up with that idea?
I actually wrote it for a contest, or not a contest, but like a book thing where they're looking for people to write about, you know, horror with objects. And I actually didn't get it finished in time, so then I just kept working on it for Weekly Spooky.
Well, hey. Well, Henry did.
And that's the one. Oh yeah, that's the one that I wasn't sure about. That's the one I was like, is this good? And then that's the one I probably got the most comments on.
Yeah,
that's the one people really like.
Well,
so you never know.
It stood out in my head. Yeah, it certainly did. Now you brought up found footage, something that some of my listeners may or may not know about you already. You're a humongous Blair Witch fan. For the people that didn't hear it on the first go around, because I don't know how deeply we delved into that subject the first time we spoke, but what did you think when the Blair Witch first came out, and then how has your fandom taken off since then? Because I know you're a tremendous fan of that franchise.
You know, I missed it in theaters. Like, I knew about it, but I didn't get to go. But I saw it on VHS and loved it. And if Blockbuster at the time, if you rented that movie and then like rented 2 other movies, they gave you a free VHS called Sticks and Stones, which had more footage from the movie, but also had like interviews with the family. Like if it was, you know, further add to the mythos. And that's when I really fell in love with it. And from there, you know, I played the video games. I now have the complete collection of the YA novels they put out, which are really hard to find. I have the comic books, the trading cards. I think I have about everything now.
Were you a fan of the? I think it was 2016 when they? I don't want to call it a remake. It was more of a continuation, I think. If my mind serves me correctly, you can certainly correct me if I'm wrong, because you're more of an expert on the Blair Witch mythos than I am. But how did you feel about that film?
I liked it. The only thing I didn't really like about it is that they talk about how time is controlled differently out in the woods by the witch. And in the first movie, like, it's implied, but they never come out and say it. And I hate, like, these are the rules. It just took me out of it.
When they have to spell it out for you, you know. Yeah. Well, that was a complaint, and I don't know if you're a big fan of The Last of Us. I played the games, and the TV series is on HBO, but one of the main antagonists of Season 2 came out and explained every little detail of why she's doing what she's doing, where in the game it's implied, and you don't need the big exposition to explain why she's doing something. And it actually worked better that way, because it surprised you over time, where as in the TV series, she just comes out and vomits it all out in one, you know, diatribe, and then you're like, oh, okay, that's your motive.
Yeah.
You know, for the viewer, it probably would have been better if they would have just left it vague and then slowly reveal. But I know television works different than video games.
That would have been better, because I am a fan of that show, and I never played the games. But yeah, if we didn't know why well, I don't want to spoil that show. It's pretty fresh. But if we knew why the thing happened, I mean, or if we didn't know and we had to figure it out, that'd be way more intriguing of a show.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's why what's so great about Yellow Jackets is my favorite show on TV. And it's a mystery show. You don't know exactly what happened to those girls out in the woods.
Yeah, well, I'm going to be transparent. My daughter asked me, she said, Dad, you got to watch this show. You're going to love it. You're going to love it. And I am going to give it a chance. I promise you I am. But I turned it on. I forgot which app it was. It was Netflix, I think, they had the first season. And I started episode 1. I got about a half hour into it, and then I lost interest. I know I didn't give it a fair shake, so I'm going to go back and really focus and check it out, because it's probably like any other series. You have to get into the groove of it before you can fall into it. But she said the same thing. She loves that show. So
oh yeah, it's my favorite. It's my favorite show.
Well,
it's probably my favorite show since Breaking Bad.
Okay.
And that was my all-time favorite show.
Wow, I'm definitely going to have to go revisit it then. She said the same thing. So I've got two of you telling me the same thing. So I'm going to go give it a fair shake. And the young lady, one of the stars of the show, I guess, Sophie Thatcher, she's been busy lately in the movies. You know, she did Heretic and Companion, which I think you were a big fan of. Yeah, they were both really good movies. I'm a huge fan of both. And Companion was... I think that was
my favorite movie until Sinners came out.
I was about to say the same thing. It may still be my favorite movie. I saw Sinners last weekend, and I was a little late getting to the theater to see that, but that blew me away too. The cinematography, the kind of the way they incorporated blues music in the time period. I thought it was very well shot and super. I mean, it was superbly acted. Sinners was a great film. And if you want to talk about that a little bit, what made Sinners, one of your favorite films or favorite films so far? I could talk about that movie for a little while because it's still fresh and I really enjoyed it.
I love that time period. I love the characters. It kind of reminded me of, From Dusk Till Dawn I saw for the first time, and about halfway through that movie, nothing horror really has happened. And you go, is this a horror movie? And you're like, I'm okay if the horror doesn't come because the dialogue is so good, the characters are so good. And Sinners was like that for me because I was compelled by the rest of the story.
Yeah, well, it's funny you say that. I paralleled it to the same film. It felt a lot like From Dusk Till Dawn. And then, Haley Steinfeld, she surprised me. She shocked me in that role, actually. She was really, really good, and I don't want to give too much away for the people who haven't seen the movie, but go check it out in theaters before it leaves. And that's the other thing. Movies don't stay in theaters very long anymore. They're there for 2-3 weeks, and then they're already on video on demand. But the experience in the theaters much better than the experience on your HD TV video screen at home, in my opinion.
Yeah. Best thing about theater, too, is none of my chores or responsibilities are at the theater. If I'm sitting on my couch at home, I go, maybe I should do the dishes. Maybe I should do this. Maybe I should, do meal prep. But movie theater, I'm just there. I'm looking. I'm fully focused.
Yep. Eating your popcorn, watching the movie. Yeah.
Yep.
1,000% agree. 1,000% agree. Oh, man. So we talked about Sinners a little bit. There's another movie that's out that I haven't seen yet, and I really have only played 30% of the video game. But have you seen the trailer for Until Dawn, and does that intrigue you at all?
Yeah, I saw that movie.
Oh, you saw the movie?
So, I saw the trailer. It intrigued me enough to go watch it.
Oh, I haven't seen the movie yet. I've only played 30% of the game. Without for our audience as well, without spoilers, what did you think of the film? Because I'm going to try to check it out this weekend.
Yeah, I can't compare it to the game at all because I'd never played the game. I know maybe there's issues with that.
Yeah.
People saying it's not like the game, but
well, I'm only 30% into the game, so yeah, I'm only 30% in, so I'm not nowhere near finished.
Yeah. But when I first saw the trailer, it starts out where it's just a slasher movie.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I love a slasher movie, but I've seen it. I don't care. But then when the clock shifts back around and all of a sudden it's a different creature each night, that was like, oh, okay, now I'm interested. Yeah.
Yep.
'Cause it's got a little bit of everything. You know, it's got a creepy witch or
Nice.
zombie type things. It's got a lot of different things to it.
I'm looking forward to seeing that. And you talked about the '90s a little bit, and it's not quite the '90s, but it's the early 2000s, or I think it was 2000 when the Final Destination franchise kicked off. Are you a fan of those films? I've recently watched all of them back to back to back to get ready for the newest iteration of the film coming out in just a week or two. Are you a fan of those particular films, the Final Destination films?
Kinda. Like, I watched the first movie, I liked it, and then never watched another one for whatever reason.
Yeah. Well, in fairness, they're all the same fucking movie. It's the same.
Well, that's all right. You know, I'll watch. You know, I'm a Friday 13th fan. So
Me
I know
too.
about
Me
going
too.
to see the same movie over and over again.
The only thing that and I am a fan of the franchise, and I'll go see the next one. But and I'm not giving away any spoilers. All these movies have been out for years, so guys, if you haven't seen the last Final Destination, that's on you. But they're all exactly the same. And there's no one lives in those movies, so it kind of you kind of go in. You know, at least with Friday 13th, you got a final girl. Somebody makes it out to the end. But with these, they're all going to die anyway. So what's the point of this?
Right.
But maybe they'll switch it up with this one. I don't know. One of the main characters from the first movie survived to the second movie and got killed. A la Friday 13th Part 2, where we had our final girl from 1 die at Jason's grown-up hands. How he figured out how to find her address and get on her street, make a phone call. I'll never figure that out, but he did.
To undrown when grow up.
And grow up. Yeah, where did he get his food? Yeah. Where did he find those jeans and those shoes? But anyway, I digress. Well, Bruce, as a writer, and you've done a lot of, I say a lot, you've done quite a bit of nonfiction, and you're crossing over into horror fiction specifically. How's that transition been for you? And, what is your process? I'm always interested in picking another writer's brain, not zombie-like, but what is your process when you sit down and get ready to put out a story or even a book, nonfiction versus fiction? How do they differ?
They differ a lot. For one, I think we talked about it, maybe not even on the podcast, maybe just in chat.
Mm-hmm.
With the nonfiction, a story I want to write, I'll research for like a month, and I'll produce like 1,200 words.
Mm-hmm.
Where, writing fiction, I can write that in a day.
Yeah.
So there's that big difference. I do more research than anybody, though, I think, because even like the new Dirt Babies, I lived through the 90s, yet I'm researching shoe companies and T-shirt brands to reference. I'm creating my own rock star with the guy Gloom Macabre that's featured in that first book. He's also, they're listening to him in the second book, and I've wrote in like a new little song.
Oh, nice.
And more mythology to him. And yeah, I like to find a little. It's just finding that nugget that I'm interested in, and then finding a way to tell that story and dig into it.
So are we
I try to do something different each time.
Are we getting our own Haney-verse, so to speak? I know, we got Rob Fields and Strickfield, and I got my Valley stuff. So are we getting a Haney-verse, and what do you want to call that?
Yeah, I do like Haney-verse. I hadn't thought about that before. Most things take place in Oregon, and a lot of stuff takes place in Locust Grove, which is, it's not a fake town. It's a town that used to exist. It's like a ghost town in I think, Eastern Oregon. And so a lot of stuff takes place in Locust Grove.
That's a cool
So that
name.
might be my Strickfield. Yeah.
Yeah, Locust Grove is a cool name, too. Yeah.
Yeah.
You need to bring that back. You need to revive that town. Or maybe you can write a fictional story of how it became a ghost town, But
I've been working on one.
Oh, nice.
It's probably gonna be my summer submission for the Weekly Spooky. Yeah, because it's a town that, in my fake universe, it's a town that flooded, and there's maybe a cult there, and when it dries up, these kids find things underneath the water that kind of links to what happened, and then strangers show up in town when they see it in the newspaper.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, so I'm going to explore it a bit.
Well, I'm looking forward to the expansion of the Haney-verse, and you don't have to call it that, man. I just threw that out there. Everything people put, even the Winnie the Pooh movies, they call it the Poonie-verse, and I'm like,
Do they?
yeah, the Winnie the Pooh slashers and all the films associated, like the Peter Pan film is part of the Poonie-verse. And I'm like, okay. Oh man, oh geez. Now you said you're basically a kid of the '90s, and you grew up in the '90s.
Yeah.
What were some of your? And I know you like all things horror, Friday the 13th, and all that kind of stuff. But who are some of your influences in writing? What authors did you read? Did you start reading horror at all in the '90s? When did you start delving into reading horror fiction?
Yeah, horror was pretty much what I read. But I'm like any kid from the 90s. It was Stephen King and R.L. Stine.
Mm-hmm.
Almost exclusively. That's all I read.
Well, out of
my first book was Misery, which is a great one.
Good choice. Yeah, it does differentiate itself from the film. The film was great, but there's some things in the book that come off a little rougher, is what I'll say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, geez.
And I read The Shining 3 or 4 times as a kid. That was my favorite book.
That was a great book. Did you like Dr. Sleep?
Yeah. And I'm a big Mike Flanagan fan.
Okay.
Everything he does, I love. Yeah, he's my guy. He's my guy. Of the look, he's my it's like the John Carpenter of the now. He's my favorite horror guy.
Yeah. Well, if you could pick a horror director or producer, and I'm thinking, for me, even though produces the lower budget stuff, Enrique, I think he does a super job. But who would you like to work with if you ever got a project off the ground and wanted to put it on film, be it television or movies? Is there a person or a director in your blue sky world, indie horror, big budget horror, that you would really just faint over if they got to take your stuff and put it on screen?
Yeah. For what I write, it's hard to think of a director that's working now that would be like, oh yeah, he's the perfect fit or she's the perfect fit. I would love to write an Enrique script at some point if he's ever interested in another writer.
Enrique's always interested.
Right. But for a mainstream, I would actually like Eduardo Sanchez. His stuff, other than Blair Witch, also great. His other non-found footage stuff is great. I don't know. It's a good question.
Well,
I don't think Mike Flanagan wouldn't work for my stuff.
Well, I tell you, man, this would fit in perfectly on a Creep Show episode. A Shudder Creep Show episode. This would be the right length, and they release this thing at Halloween. If I don't know if they would use CGI effects, because I don't know how you make these things actually walk and talk any other way unless you did little Muppet puppet things. But when I read this and these fucking things came to life, I was like, "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah.
I'd love to see that. Even a cartoon, even a freaking cartoon of this I would tune in and watch this. And guys, go out and pick up Dirt Babies. It's on Amazon.com right now. You can pick it up. It comes to your house in a couple days. I just can't tell you how enjoyable this was. I was at a book signing event at a festival last week, and it wasn't very busy. Only sold 9 books and a T-shirt. But while I sat there, as people walked by, I was reading this, and I pretty much finished it there. So pick it up. Go to Amazon.com, pick it up. Listen to Bruce on Weekly Spooky. We talked about Dirt Babies, the sequel that you're working on, but what are some things you aspire to do? What are some things that you have on the back burner? You talked about one already, but big picture, what can we see coming down the pike from Bruce Haney in the next year or two?
Quite a few things. I think my goal now is just to put out a book a year, and then also contribute to Weekly Spooky. I have a novel that's dear to me that I don't feel is ready, or I'm not ready to release. It's also 90s. It has no horror, and it's just about teenage depression and self-injury and dealing with post-Columbine and how outsiders were treated. But I'm not ready for it yet. I want to put a few more books out and then keep drafting it till I think it's perfect. But the next horror thing is probably going to be very research heavy. I've started a thing. I have several chapters about this house that used to be the founder of the state. He lived there, and the Historical Society owns it, but there's things that have happened over the years, and it's been abandoned but in ownership, but now they're going to restore it, and things are going to happen again, and you're going to try to figure out what really happened back in the day.
Oh, wow. That sounds interesting.
Yeah.
It really does.
And I'm reading, because it's kind of Dr. John McLaughlin's, who it's kind of based on, who's the founder of Oregon. And I'm reading his journals. Oh, wow. I'm doing research that people wouldn't do. But I love it. That's what's fun for me.
Well, it definitely comes across in your writing, and it definitely makes it more authentic. So if someone were to follow up and say, I think he's full of crap, but they go back and look at your research and or research it for themselves, and they're like, oh no, that is true, that did happen, or that was made in this time period. So it's cool that you do that. I'm going to say that I'm guilty of not doing that so much. I'm a child of the late 70s and 80s for the most part, so I go off memory most of the time. I will look up dates for movies and things like that when I put those in the book to make sure that those are accurate. But a lot of the stuff from that time period I lived through, so I kind of just put it out there.
Yeah. I almost made a big mistake in Dirt Babies. Up until maybe the 14th draft, there's a character who has a novel on her her bedside table. Mm-hmm. And I actually I wrote it as a Charles Campbell book, and I'm like, wait, he didn't put any books out in 97. You didn't put any books back then?
No published books.
Yeah.
But
then it became a Lovecraft book.
That's right. I do remember that, the Lovecraft book. Well, Bruce, it has been awesome speaking with you, man. I'm glad we got to catch up. I'm going to be quiet for a second, let you plug anything you want to plug. My main purpose was to make sure people saw this, and I got to chat with you. Dirt Babies, great little read. Check it out, Amazon.com. I'll be quiet and let Bruce speak to plug anything he wants to plug and tell you to go anywhere you need to go to find his stuff.
Thank you. Amazon is the place to find all my books. Dirt Babies, Oregon Moonshine, Eccentric Tales of Boring Oregon. And keep watching out. I'm going to keep putting out stuff. Always check out Weekly Spooky, because I'm always trying to get stories on there. And if you don't listen to that show, there's so many great writers on there. You're really missing out. I almost want to promote that more than anything, because that podcast is awesome.
Well, yeah, you can plug that away too. Enrique will love it.
And join the Weekly Spooky group. We're a lot of fun. A lot of fun memes on there and cool people on there.
It's called Weekly Spooky Tomb of Terror on Facebook. Look us up. Yeah. And I am Charles Campbell, your small town horror author. My latest release is called Signature Cut Above. It's about a batshit crazy beautician who does more than cut hair with those scissors. And I have another book coming out later this summer called Three Knocks. brief little synopsis. It's a brother and sister. They go through a tragic event at their childhood home, and kind of tears up their relationship a little bit. And years later, they have to go back and face the evil entity that drove them apart. So that's where we are with that. But it'll be out late July, early August. I'm shooting for. So make sure you check that out. You can pre-order that at valleyboypublications.com, and you can find all my links there. And again, thank you so much for being on the program, Bruce. I'm going to air this ASAP because I need to get another episode out, and I'm so glad that you put out this book so we could talk about it and we could spend some time together. It's always great talking to you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, until next time, we'll see you on Horror 421, the podcast. Take care.